Well, we're going to talk about the episode called Old Man Fletcher now.
Which has a lot of craziness in it. And I think that Mike Fuller, you do a couple of voices in this one. And there are times when Bert is talking to Old Man Fletcher and you're doing both of those voices.
Yeah.
That is so hard.
Oh,
you did a good job.
Thank you. At least they were dissimilar enough that it wasn't so bad.
Right. It wasn't too similar of an accent. I guess it was really funny. But we also have Anthony Floyd and Michael Crowley here, and I'm Carrie Aguila. And this episode sort of starts out, Fletchapolitan Market has recently opened up, and kind of everybody in town is complaining about it. But Rose and Carlos are up in Brick's fourth floor laboratory.
Yeah.
Right?
With the
German scientists.
Yeah. And the herb.
And the mystery herb
mystery
that
herb.
she inherited from Chester Tyrone. I feel like the brownies are becoming quite delicious now, right?
I think
like,
so.
The brownies are going to be wonderful with the addition of this secret herb. They're going to be really good.
Yeah.
But I love the part where the German scientists, Carol and Michael, play the Germans.
That should be Carol Sparrer, who also plays Joey. She's brilliant, wonderful to work with.
Absolutely.
She is so fun, and she does a great job at this German scientist, Dr. Solveig. Dr. Mueller comes over and...
Hello there, it's wonderful to see you again here.
You came up with the funniest thing. I don't think we ever discussed this or anything, but yeah, Dr. Mueller and Dr. Solveig come up while Rose and Carlos are talking, and he says that he's blind and he's bruised his retinae because he looked at one of Heather's nose paintings.
Yeah. But what's...
You mean yeah?
Yeah.
Jawohl. Yeah, you see, I was looking at the
Yeah.
painting there, and the color sense, it hits the cones and the rods in the eye in such a way that I went, ouch! Oh, my God, what is that?
That notion that Heather, because remember Heather made these beautiful paintings that Rose had up at the produce stand for a long time, but she convinced Heather to take them like on a traveling art tour.
Well, she was
going to really bad.
She was going to palm them off on Mark.
Right.
in the twisted dinghy.
Yeah. And now there's some in the dinghy, and apparently they've hurt poor Dr. Mueller.
Right.
I thought that was so funny.
Half the fun about playing an obsessed scientist in that way is coming up with very precise, or at least scientific sounding enough things to make the absurd plausible.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I have seen paintings out there in real life that would hurt your retina.
Well, I really like how Drs. Mueller and Zolvig, it seems like they are relatives of Mel Brooks' character from the Muppet movie.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I love Dr. K.
Well, I always think Dr. Solveig, she reminds me of, what's the woman's name in Young Frankenstein?
Oh, Frau
Frau
Blucher.
Blucher.
Frau Blucher,
Right,
yeah.
Frau
Yes.
Blucher. That's what she always reminds me of.
Yeah.
Oh,
I feel like there should be a
Cloris
horse name.
Leachman, God
Yeah, in the
bless
background.
her.
I have to say, one of my favorite scenes from this episode was the one that you and I did, Carrie, where I was Carlos. And I was kind of coming on to you, but not exactly. And then you were sort of responding, but then, I have to go to the...
Yeah, that was this scene.
Yeah,
right.
to go to the Mamacita Cantina and fix the salsa fountain.
That was that was a beautiful thing too, yeah. Because Rose is obviously feeling a little lonely at this point.
She is,
You know,
yeah.
Brick is a jerk and is awful. Mark, why is she mad at him?
I don't remember why she's mad.
Why
She's
she
still
is
mad
mad at Mark.
about the books?
About the books still. And Mark hasn't had the heart or the courage to go around her since he failed to rescue her from the dagger.
Yeah,
He's feeling
he's sort
very
of distanced
yeah.
himself.
Okay.
He's just kind of either holed up in the bar or the bookstore and has his cats for company. He hasn't been brave enough to go to the produce store for a while.
Yeah, so some of the men she usually gets her affirmation from have been ignoring her or she can't stand them.
Right.
So she tries to dip back into the Carlos well a little bit and get some love there. I think it's so funny though because Carlos is like, oh, but after that I have to give my mama her foot rub.
Yeah.
She
and-
goes, oh, I didn't know your mom was in town. No, she's in Coral Gables.
Yeah.
Well, then why do you need to give her a foot rub? And he goes,
I'm going to describe to her how to do it herself over Skype.
so
Yeah.
weird. But she's left alone again. Poor Rose.
Much worse than the excuse that Rose gives to Heather about not going to her yoga class, which is, I have to wash my hair that night.
That's what people used to say,
Yeah.
I swear. Or she had to darn her socks.
No,
or something like that
no,
too.
that was the second time.
That
It
was the second excuse.
It's
yeah.
Wednesday. It's sock darning night.
Right. I support you and your yoga class in every way except for going to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Rose has
And
been
also-
down about her business too.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, because
Fletchapolitan Market has
Yeah.
a new coffee shop, Carlos tells her.
Yes.
Coffee Lab
Yeah.
1.
that they've brought in the World Barista Champion from from the Netherlands.
What
Right,
does Old Man Fletcher
where they
think
take
he's
their
doing?
coffee seriously. They do it full contact in the cage, no
Yeah.
rules. Best barista standing wins.
Well, it's funny, though, how we bring in things from real life. So when I said that, when I was still doing a show on KEXP, there was one month where the roaster in residence at the coffee shop there was the World Barista Champion from
Oh
the
my gosh,
Netherlands.
really?
So I just used that.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're Carlos Enbert and Old Man Fletcher in this
Yeah, I'm a
episode.
lot of people in this episode.
You're a lot of people. Would you like to just do the whole episode by yourself? Maybe you could do all the voices.
I
for her.
probably could have. But
Shut up!
Yeah.
You can't.
Well, I'm sorry to have inconvenienced you. Then you
cannot
get
do
on with
that.
the one-person show.
Oh, don't you think I could do that?
Close. It's
Yeah,
close. It's
yeah.
close. I'll give you that. I love, though, that we find out a lot about Old Man Fletcher in this episode, don't we? Because he's
I
been
was-
this character who's been in the background the whole time. You know, he said, like, a couple of words at the New Year's Eve party, or no, Quanukamas.
Quanukamas.
He popped in to have a beer and Quanukamas.
He came at the end.
Many episodes
And we
ago.
set that up that Old Man Fletcher never comes to any of the
He never
community events.
participates.
He's not a member of the Chamber
He
of
yells
Commerce.
at everybody. He doesn't
Yeah.
even sweep outside of his shop.
I think at one point somebody says, if we had a Little League team, he probably wouldn't even sponsor
He
it.
probably wouldn't even. You're right.
Well, part of it, I think, we first learn about him in his obstinance to even have the sign changed from Felchers to Fletchers.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
He had this long-running feud with the sign painter, and by God, the sign painter was going to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And so even though his name is Fletcher, the store is called Felchers.
Which I
because-
cannot tell you how many times I've met. Everyone has messed that up
Oh,
when
yeah.
we're recording.
Oh, yeah.
They'll say, "Let's go into Fletcher's," and we got to go. Oh,
But
stop. Do it
I
again.
was
It's
so
Fletcher.
excited for this episode because I felt like Old Man Fletcher deserved his moment in the sun.
Yeah.
Like he has like a really hard life. He's been working at the store since he was 6 years old. Mm-hmm. People have been calling him Old Man Fletcher since he was
then.
6 years
Right.
old.
Right.
You know, and his wife left him for the president of Austinville Savings and Trust.
Mm-hmm.
All these things we've thrown in where he's had a really hard life. And so finally he gets his moment in the sun to shine.
He gets his moment in the hot tub too.
He does.
He
Right?
does.
Probably not the best timing of it, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love that scene though because so Doc and Heather are in the hot tub. I think they're in the hot tub pretty much every night, right? Like
Yeah,
they
we
meet
established
there,
that. They do it
and
every night.
They hang out
Yeah.
every night, and they obviously have this wonderful, sweet relationship. But Doc has been helping Heather move furniture around and making her office into something that Mayor Frost will love, right? And he has been he's been sort of a pathetic, sad character a bit lately because it's so clear he's in love with Heather and he tries and tries and tries to do whatever she asks. And he's her best friend in the world. And she keeps saying stuff like, "Oh, Doc, it's so good to have a friend like you." Like
Yes.
she just keeps shutting him
Just
down.
twisting the knife every time.
Every
Yeah, it's
time she
hitting
says
the word
friend
friend with a 16-pound sledge.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
But at some point, he finally admits, like they're in the hot tub and there's kombucha flowing and there's warm bubbles all around and she's been playing footsie with him all night in the hot tub. And he says,
Yes.
"Heather, there's nothing I'd like more than to feel your inner moves."
Oh my God.
Anthony, well done.
Wow.
Where did that come from? I didn't know.
Gosh, it was hard to get that one out, but
Like he's blushing right now, even talking about
I know.
saying that. You guys?
Yeah. His ambient temperature just went up 5-10 degrees.
Somehow
radio
it
listeners.
sounded really nasty and really innocent at the same time.
Exactly. You're like, that's gross but adorable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always worry that he's going to say something that he won't be able to come back from.
By the way, Carrie,
Right,
most
right.
of my girlfriends would have described me that way.
Gross but adorable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there is some innocence about Doc Burgess, and I think he does have this nice even keel about him, this sort of even temperament that allows him to be approachable for other characters. He certainly has developed over time a good relationship with Mark, who, in an odd way, even though he's this large animal Doc, he winds up becoming kind of a counselor of sorts to
Absolutely.
different characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, you become kind of the catch-all care provider, not only
Yeah.
medical but psychological help.
And that happens a little bit in the hot tub with Old Man Fletcher as well, who's talking through his midlife crisis a bit and sort of talk about, he's wanting to do the cold plunge with
The hotties, the two hotties.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the best.
What were their
yes.
names? Amber and
Amethyst.
Amethyst
Yeah.
and
And
Opal.
That's
and
right.
amethyst.
And we're just sort of talking about, well, this might be a good thing, but we don't want you to die from this because we've seen your EKG. And
he is really even keel. Yeah, Doc Burgess is definitely a solid, just stable.
My theory is
kind-hearted
that somewhere around season 3 or 4, Doc will take over from Father Francis as the spiritual leader of the town too.
Yeah, that's super sweet.
Well, yeah, because the essence of his character is he's kind.
Well, and it's great because all the rest of the people in Broken are such weirdos and can be so mean that it's kind of a breath of fresh air to have a nice guy come along once in a while too.
Yeah.
So, like a Doc Burgess character who is just kind could be very boring, but isn't at all, because it's exactly what we needed to round out the crew.
Father Francis used to kind of play that role, but then we learn in season 2 that Father Francis has maybe a little bit of a darker side. Like he likes to go shooting things and what was the scene?
There was something about a knife where Annika was trying to ask Father Francis
advice
if I have a drawer that just won't open, and he's like, sometimes
he says I like to stick the knife in and
twist it just a little bit,
yes,
or like he shoots all the bottles except for one on the line.
Yeah, so they can see what I did to your friends.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, like it's clear he's sort of got a pressure cooker that he's holding down really tight, but he has to blow off steam sometimes too. Yeah.
Right.
Speaking of Father Francis, brilliantly played by Craig Nelson.
Love it.
I love the episode called Tunnels, where they're in the tunnels and he just won't shut up.
Yes.
Oh, that rock looks like Katy Perry.
Yeah, that's later in season 2
Yeah.
when you get to see Father Francis in all his chit-chat glory.
So one thing I love about this episode, Fletcherpolitan Market, is that I have taken some of the real life events of Soap Lake, the little town where I like to go to in central Washington, and bring them into Broken. So one thing is people are never satisfied with something over there. It's like, yes, you paved the streets, but you did it wrong. So the longtime supermarket recently transitioned over to new owners. And so the old place was very much like Felcher's. And the new place actually does have a kombucha wall, and they have chickpea pasta and things like that. And I'm waiting to see how long it is before people start complaining that, like, it's too fancy and we want the old market back.
Right. Well, that is really a characteristic of Broken, probably of a lot of small towns and big towns and countries.
Yeah.
You're never satisfied. You're never happy. So people have been complaining about Felcher's forever.
For the entire series,
For the
people...
entire life of Broken, everybody has been complaining about Felcher's. And so Old Man Fletcher thinks he's finally doing this great thing. He's improved it. He's got young people. He's got a sushi bar. It's going to be this wonderful place. And we all hate it. Hate it. George, the best thing George said, I don't know if it was this one or the last one, he goes, somebody says, there's 80% cacao in your chocolate bar. And all he does is he goes, cacao?
Yeah.
The way he said it.
I know.
I've never heard the word cacao more brilliantly spoken.
I know. And imagine poor Old Man Fletcher. He's been hearing all these complaints about his store for years and years and years.
And he knows everybody hates him.
Yeah. He knows everybody hates him. It's like, in one point he says, nobody wants to hang around with me, and then I'm cool, and you still don't want to hang around with me.
But we do get this little bit of sweetness kind of at the end, though, because after he does that and he pulls out his plugs and he takes out his contacts, and that's really nasty.
When he crunches the contacts.
Ugh, it's such a nasty image.
And he's pulling out the plugs, and he's like, they're all over the floor.
Oh, it's so gross. But afterwards, I think it was Mark who just throws him a little bit of kindness. Like, if you're ever lonely, come on down to the bar. I'll buy you a beer.
Yeah.
Because he says he's super lonely.
Yeah.
But it's a nice parting shot. Well, you're just a bunch of jerks anyway. And
And then he goes out and yells at, like, the Portland kids that he hired to come up here anyway, right?
Get
off my sidewalk.
I also love where he's complaining. He goes, I go home and I have a TV dinner and I watch the 700 Club.
That's pathetic. Or George says something.
George says, that's just wrong.
That's it.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show, like, the jerky person is that way for a reason. And it isn't because they want to be a jerk. They're feeling sad and broken and lonely. And he fits right in with the community.
Yeah.
He just expresses it in a little different way, I guess.
And I also love the part where he says, I'm 38 years old,
Right.
In dog years?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's got a rubber where he's like, we imagine him as this gigantically old man, all curled over and crusty. And Joey goes, time has not been a friend to that man.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
38.
none of you know the stress of what it's like to work to run a grocery store.
It's a war zone,
Yeah.
which he really believes.
Oh, he
like
does.
takes it that seriously.
Yeah.
And he says he's in there like 16 hours a day, and he's running all by himself. And poor Old Man Fletcher, he becomes a rather sympathetic character.
He does. He
Yeah.
does. Which I knew he would. If he just had a moment to shine, I knew he would
Well,
become a
hadn't you
sympathetic
been practicing
character.
that voice for like 3 years?
Yeah. That's right. I've it's because he's always been a bit player where he's like, "That's right."
Right.
Would be his line, or
Yeah.
you go, Brickman.
Right. But we never really got to know him. It would be like Murph. Michael Crowley does
Yes.
the character of
Yeah.
Murph, who is the just random shouts of weirdness. in the
Random
background.
shouts of weirdness,
Yeah.
which is always good because background characters like that, they're great when they fill in because Mel Brooks, God bless him, he knows how to use comedy asides like that. I think my favorite Murphism so far is when he talks about he bought a white wedding dress and now he has nowhere to wear it.
Yeah, there was
Oh,
something
yeah,
where they were
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
in the Annika decided they need some lace from a virgin's wedding dress.
Yeah.
And wooden stakes and things like that to destroy the broken beast.
Yeah.
And when they finally realize it's just Pugsy, Murph shouts something like, "I was prepared to give you my wedding dress," or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it was so funny. Yeah, Murph is definitely another one of those characters where someday we could have a little episode about Murph, and I don't know how that would go though. Like, I'm not sure who Murph really is.
Well, I imagine Murph is the guy because there are no kids in Broken. He's still the caretaker of the school.
Oh,
but
that's
what he
right.
does. He just
Yeah.
he does his job and he makes the circuit of the school and there's no one there. So I watch people do this. They talk to themselves. I talk to myself. Other people, they talk to themselves. They just keep the conversation going, I think, sometimes because they don't want to listen to what's around them or they need
Or
to get
silence.
or silence, yeah. So they keep going. and
They
I-
need to listen to podcasts. And
Yes.
They need people out there. You need to listen to this podcast.
Then
Because-
you
I'm
won't go crazy.
I'm a little unclear whether the internet has made its way to Broken yet.
Nets. Nobody said anything about nets. They're coming. The gorillas are coming to capture us.
That's why Murph doesn't have his own episode.
Yeah, and because Michael
It's a madhouse.
because
We can all
Michael
just-
wouldn't be able to talk by the end of the episode. I actually had to figure out how to do Old Man Fletcher's voice without hurting my
Yeah,
throat.
for sure.
Because some of the early episodes, it was really catching, but
Mm-hmm.
for these episodes, I had to figure out how to do it.
We're willing to sacrifice, though, aren't we? We'll do
Yes,
the
we
Lily,
are.
We'll do the Lily Lejeune and the Murph. And
I'm
the Old
perfectly
Man
prepared to
Fletcher.
have you make that sacrifice.
Yes.
And you know who else I'm disappointed that we never met is the Crabbers.
Yes.
The Crabbers. Right.
who
There's
are-
always
there
two
are always-
Crabbers. I always imagine the Crabbers, they're these two guys who have a boat and they share the job and stuff and they go out crabbing and they always stay above the twisted dinghy when they're in town.
Yeah.
And we've talked about, I bet they're foodies.
Yeah, that's what
Like,
we...
I bet they're really, like, lovely, well-educated, stylish gentlemen who are real foodies, and we don't really know why they stay above the twisted dinghy then, but, yeah, they would not be the stereotypical, like, longshoremen
Yeah,
kind
these
of
are not the
crabbers.
deadliest catch guys. These are more like Macintosh, the Gopher twins from Looney Tunes.
Oh,
These
yes. After
incredibly-
you. No. After you.
I insist, you boy.
Yeah.
Maybe they would be friends with the dancing fisherman.
Who turned out to not be who we thought
Maybe
it
they're
was.
his choreographers.
Could be.
No. 1, 2, 3, then turn. 1, 2, 3, then turn.
I loved that Dancing Fisherman episode. It was a weird sort of one of those just random bits of story that didn't really
Yeah.
go,
Yeah.
advance our giant plot line and all. But I think it was sweet seeing everybody going around and trying to find out about this guy, this really interesting guy that no one has bothered to talk to. And, why does he sing? Why does he dance? And in the end, that he turns out to be the most boring human being ever.
But I
and
think-
yet, they're all like, you know what? I bet that's just a ruse. I bet he is the most interesting person, and he's pretending to be the most boring person. Like, they don't give up their little
Yeah.
kernel of hope.
The really interesting ones are always dull on the outside.
Yes.
Well, and that's the thing with Broken too, where one by one you learn a little bit more about the characters. Like some of them are very, like Annika, at first is just this kind of ditzy character, but over time her character really becomes fleshed out. And it's that way with life too. It's like, I think about like the mail guy at my office. I always say hi. I know he's getting ready to go on vacation. I know a few things about him, but I don't really know about him.
Yeah.
And if he was grouchy one day, I wouldn't know why he was being grouchy.
Right.
And Old Man Fletcher, in this episode, we find out why he is so thoroughly grouchy.
Right. Well, I love in this one too. We continue that Annika story a lot too, because there's a scene where Bert and Annika are talking about red trousers, and she's been sort of following him across the United States and Canada and all these little small towns. I love that we pick random names of real small towns to he was in Ishpeming, and he was in Winona, and he was in Libby, and in this one it's that he was in Lava Hot Springs, Idaho, where I've been, and it's lovely. And that Bert reveals that he left 2 dead bodies in his wake, died from severe blunt force trauma to the eyeballs. From the Jitna Kondo. How did you ever come up with something as silly as Jitna Kondo? Because clearly that's not a real thing, Mike Fuller.
Oh, there was a guy in comic books, Count
Dante.
Count Dante.
The most lethal martial artist ever. I think he'd send him $5 and you would become a member of the International Black Dragon Society.
Yeah, when I was a kid, he was in comic books. He had an ad in all the comic books, the world's deadliest man. And so I thought, what if somebody like that? And I thought, what was the most ridiculous thing that you do just by looking at you, by making eye contact with you, they could kill you?
That's one of the things in martial arts is the myth of the dim mak, the death touch.
Yeah.
You touch certain meridians on the body or certain pressure points, or even just tap them in a certain place, and 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, 2 weeks later they flop over dead because your dim mak is that powerful.
Yeah, so she's taken it to the ultimate where she can just make eye contact with you and kill you. And Jitna Kondo, I just
put together some sounds.
I just put up some syllables, and I thought, hey, that sounds like it could be
really
right.
I know. I always thought it sounded vaguely like Jeet Kune-do, but
well, that's probably what I was thinking of.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. The first time I watched Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Yeah.
Remember how they're like leaping across?
Oh yeah.
I kind of thought
Michael can do that. I've seen him do it.
You know what? I kind of thought, I wonder if they can really do that. Like, is that really possible? Like, are they so amazing that they can just sort of scale a wall? Because you see, what is the parkour? People do these amazing things where they like leap up buildings. And this was years ago, of course, when Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon came out. But I always thought, I wonder if that's actually possible.
Well, in the wuxia films, it's meant to illustrate a character's psychological or spiritual development. Because in the film, we have Chow Yun-fat playing Li Mubai,
Hottie,
the master, who is able,
Super
because
sexy.
of his martial attainment and spiritual
Handsome.
enlightenment, able to balance on one foot, not on a wall, but on a
Beautiful.
bamboo branch.
Oh, yeah,
as he's
the bamboo
fighting
branch.
with Ji Zhang, who is having real trouble staying on her own bamboo branch. She can do it, but she's not steady, she's not secure, and it's meant to show the psychological state of the character inside.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, I
We
agree.
talked about how obscure I could be in an earlier
was pretty
little
obscure.
bonus content, but
Mark, sometimes I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
everybody in the cast has got different experiences. I've studied martial art for
Better that than diphtheria.
Well, yeah, different experiences.
I've had my
diphtheria.
vaccines.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Well, another bit.
Has anyone had rubella?
Personally?
Like measles, mumps, and rubella?
No,
No,
I've
just
never
I've
had
never heard of
Nutella.
anyone who had rubella. I
Just
don't even know what
Nutella.
it is.
I've had
had that.
Nutella.
Yeah, I've had
It's
Nutella
delicious.
too. It is.
But, one of the things I dig about this episode is that there are so many different stories going on. Like, we have the Annika and the red trousers and Bert and Fletcher and Rose and Carlos. But there's also a teeny bit in here where we remember that Louise has gone to Las Vegas.
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas.
To be a lounge singer in Las Vegas.
Las Vegas. But George and Brick are talking down in George's shack a little bit because George is really worried that Mayor Frost won't be able to help him protect his gold from the...
Oh, yes.
Remember?
Yes.
Yeah,
And-
George is trying to get Brick to retroactively
Give the
alter
grandfather
the
in his
mineral rights.
mineral rights.
grandfather
Right.
and his mineral rights, right? And Brick goes, maybe if I was mayor, I could sign this with my mayor pen
At
in
my
my
mayor
mayor office.
desk,
at
yeah.
Right. But it comes out that Brick hasn't heard from Louise, even though she's moved to Las Vegas a while
Yeah.
ago. And he's a little worried about her. Not super much so. Like, he might go and visit her in Las Vegas and just see how she's doing down there.
But I love, since you mentioned it, this is one of, I think, the most tender moments in the episode is where
I know
Brick
what you're
says,
gonna say.
I could do this for you if I was mayor. It's
George
like,
goes, well, I wasn't going to vote for you because you're a rotten crook. And
yeah,
and you're a
no, he
backstabbing
goes, well, why did you vote for him? Yeah, because you're a crook. No, what? How did he say it?
He says something like, "No,
You know what
why
I'm
did
talking
you?"
about,
Yeah, he
though.
goes, "Why did you vote for Frost if he's such a crook? Because
Yeah.
you're an even bigger crook."
Yeah.
And he
No,
goes,
that's
"Then
it.
why are you asking me for help?" And George goes, "Because you're my friend."
And it was
And Brick instantly changes from being all aggressive and arguing to being,
right.
"Okay,
I'll see
all
what I
right,
can
George,
do.
I'll see what I can do." It was
It's
really
just
sweet.
so sweet. Yeah.
Aw, it was
You're a bigger
adorable.
crook, but you're my friend.
Aw. And it gets back to that idea that we all have to live together, and you can't,
Yeah.
even if you're disagreeing with somebody, you still have to live with them. And we're all a big family and broken. Even Fletch in his jeggings,
Yes.
showing off his butt now that he's going
Yeah,
hiking.
and leaving a ring of bronzer around the hot tub.
Yeah.
Right, right. His tan was sort of like melting off of him in the hot tub.
yeah.
Remember when he was in there with Doc and
yes,
Heather?
floating to the
What
surface.
was the line, Michael, that Mark says when he offers him like 4 beers?
Oh, they're arranged in order of irony. We've got
Yeah.
PBR, we've got Rainier, and we've got Olympia.
And he goes with the PBR.
Right.
And that's when Mark goes, "Oh, we've got to have a conversation."
Yeah, everybody's like, "Oh my
Oh my God.
Yeah, we're having an intervention now, please.
Yeah.
And it was definitely a broken intervention, though, right?
It was.
You suck.
Yeah, basically,
Stop sucking so bad.
There's none of this. Okay, we're really concerned about you. We love you. We're looking at you, and you're
We
going down a
skipped that
dark
part.
path. It's just, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you thinking? You're
Yeah.
in a
But
midlife
jeggings?
crisis. Jeggings, for
Yeah,
God's
yeah,
sake.
jeggings.
Oh.
Just fix it now.
And when Annika threatens Bert and he goes, "Right, I've seen Old Man Fletcher in jeggings." Like, you could scare me.
Yeah.
Old Man Fletcher just comes on in. Bert and Annika are having the secret meeting, remember?
Yeah.
And that
That's
becomes
right.
Yeah.
a theme. Like every time they have a secret meeting, somebody just comes on in because Bert forgets to lock the door.
This is, one of the most fun things I had in recording this episode was having Old Man Fletcher make Bert and Annika uncomfortable. "You want to see my nipple ring?"
Oh.
It's like, no.
For the love of God, no.
Yeah.
You did a good job, Old Man Fletcher.
That was really fun. Was really trying to make them feel uncomfortable.
It worked. It worked for all the listeners.
It
Yeah.
made us all
Yeah.
uncomfortable. Thank you.
We were
Yeah.
all uncomfortable.
Oh, good. Then I succeeded.
Oy, oy, oy. Well, I'm so glad we got to talk about this episode a little bit because I think there's a lot going on in here. And, we get Doc and Heather, the German scientists, and Mike Fuller gets to talk as like 6 different characters.
It was fun.
And
It was
a
fun.
lot of fun. So thank you, Mike and Anthony Floyd and Michael Crowley and Carrie Aguilin. We hope that you keep listening to Broken.